U.S. forces said this was an act of self-defense. On March 18, 2019, they dropped more than 1,000 kilograms of explosives on a crowd gathered by the riverbank in the Syrian town of Baghuz. It was Daesh's last stronghold. But evidence shows that dozens of people that were killed there were largely civilians, not terrorists, though no U.S. officials were held accountable. Now, nearly 3 years on, the U.S. Secretary of Defense has ordered a review of the attack.
The inquiry will include an assessment of the following things: the civilian casualties that resulted from the incident, compliance with the law of war, record-keeping and reporting procedures, whether mitigation measures identified in previous investigations into the incident were, in fact, implemented effectively, whether accountability measures would be appropriate, and finally, whether authorities, procedures, or processes should be altered.
The Pentagon's announcement follows a New York Times investigation into the attack published earlier this month. The paper reports a legal officer flagged the strike as a possible war crime that required an investigation, but at nearly every step, the military made moves that concealed the catastrophic strike. It also highlights an elite unit called Task Force 9, which called in the strike. The unit operated in such secrecy that at times it did not inform even its own military partners of its actions. In the case of the Baghuz bombing, the American Air Force Command in Qatar had no idea the strike was coming. That same task force carried out the only known review of the incident and determined that the bombing was lawful because it killed only a small number of civilians while targeting Islamic State fighters in an attempt to protect coalition forces.
We do work very hard to avoid causing harm to civilians. Every civilian casualty is a tragedy. But I would also say that I have no doubt that we can work harder, and I'd go beyond that and say we must work harder. I'm committed to adjusting our policies and our procedures to make sure that we improve.
Just days after the Baghuz bombing, the U.S. declared the Daesh Caliphate defeated. But the question remains, at what cost? Yasmine El-Sabawi, TRT World, Washington.